The cold wind that cuts through the mountains of Transylvania carries with it more than just the dampness of the forest. It carries screams, forgotten echoes of a curse too old to be recorded in books, but still present in the memory of every resident who has survived to tell the tale. But first, if you like dark tales and stories, click the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. On the border between Romania and the shadows of the world, there is a patch of land that no map dares to detail with precision, the forest of Hoia Baciu. They say it changes shape, trails disappear. Trees sprout overnight in places where there used to be clearings, compasses go crazy, time slows down. And in the center of it all, on nights of the new moon, a sound always repeats itself, heavy, rhythmic, animalistic. The sound of claws tearing the ground, of fangs clashing, and of something or someone hunting. The story begins in 1897, when Emil Petrescu, an experienced hunter known for taking down bears with a single shot, was summoned by a local aristocrat, Baron Andrei Vasilescu. The attacks on his built-up lands intensified. Animals were mutilated, servants disappeared, and most importantly, there were suggestions of a demonic creature that was prowling around Brand Castle. Emil, driven by glory and generous pay, accepted. But he soon realized that he was not hunting an ordinary beast. On the first night, he found a clearing where the ground was covered in footprints and blood, a fresco of blood. And in the center, embedded in the ground, was an ancient medallion with inscriptions in Latin and a symbol he had learned, the seal of protection against shapeshifters. The following nights were torment. Emil began to hear voices among the bushes, figures that seemed to walk on two legs but disappeared as soon as he approached. On a particularly cold dawn, he saw a creature for the first time, 2 meters tall, pitch-black fur, a pair of yellow, staring eyes, as if piercing the soul of whoever looked at them. Emil fired twice, but the bullets seemed to pass through the monster without causing harm. He fled, leaving behind his canteen and some of his courage. The next day, I found claw marks on his tent. It was a single word carved into the trunk of a nearby tree. Blestamat. Cursed. Emil tried to flee, but discovered he was trapped. The trails were gone. He walked in circles for 3 days. His food ran out. The water froze. And then, on the night of the new moon, he created the creature one last time. There was no fight, only screams. Emil was never found. Only his tarnished silver dagger, embedded in the center of a stone altar covered in human bones. Baron Vasilescu closed the grounds. He had the castle's hidden people sealed away, and those who disappeared from public life. They say he went mad, muttering about an ancient pact between his family and something that lives beneath the forest, something that should never be awakened. Decades passed. In 1974, a group of students from the University of Bucharest decided to document the urban legends of Transylvania. Led by Irina Kohokaru, a young woman with a passion for macabre stories, they set off for Hoia Baciu with recorders, cameras, and plenty of courage. It was supposed to be a 3-day trip. On the second day, I returned to the cabin where, according to locals, Emil had camped. Everything was untouched. The smell of mold and rotting flesh filled the air. But what caught my attention most were the symbols engraved on the ground in ash, protections against spirits, demons, and werewolves. At night, we got the appearances, sounds of footsteps, distant lights between the trees, and howls that affect all sides at once. On the third day, one of the students, Georgia, disappeared. Their screams echoed for more than 10 minutes before they stopped. They found only his backpack, torn. Irina, frightened, wanted to leave, but there was no sign of a road or radio signal. The forest swallowed them. On the fourth day, another member of the group, Anka, went crazy. She tore out her own hair and began speaking in Latin, words Irina had learned from Emil's locket. She knew the forest was not just a backdrop, She was part of the curse. It was alive, and he was feeding on them. Irina escaped, or rather, he was left alive. His mind, however, was never the same again. He handed the diary over to the university dean before being admitted. The last few pages were nearly illegible, but they revealed the most disturbing thing. The Transylvanian werewolf was no ordinary monster. It was a living curse, transmitted by blood, sealed by a pact between the first Baron Vasilescu and an ancient entity, worshipped by forgotten druids. The monstrous being would be the guardian of this pact, condemned to live between worlds, keeping the secret buried. And the price for breaking that secret would be the apocalypse. In 2021, a group of YouTubers specializing in urban exploration decided to invade the ruins of the Vasilescu estate. Equipped with night cameras and arrogance, they entered the forest laughing at the warnings. What they recorded was never published. Only a snippet was leaked, posted by an anonymous person. Heavy breathing, a flashlight flashing, and eyes. 2 yellow eyes, fixed on the lens. In the background, a voice in Romanian whispers, "This is the final warning." The channel has been deleted. The team reported missing. The police closed the case as an accident, but the residents know. They heard the howls that week. They saw the moon darken. The forest is still there, waiting, changing. And they say that now the guardian no longer walks alone. That Irina, having grown old, became part of the curse. The first human to cross the threshold and survive, at the cost of her sanity. At night, in the hills of Valeni, some swear they see a woman with long white hair and empty eyes, whispering incantations to the trees. And behind her, the yellow eyes, fixed, eternal. In Transylvania, time bends the hour. Living disappear, and the monsters continue to hunt, because there are curses that don't need to be broken, just feared. The forest of Hoia Baciu was not only the birthplace of the werewolf curse, it was, in fact, the heart of something much larger, older, and infinitely darker. Long before Romanian records, even before castles, barons, and forbidden books, this piece of land served as the sacred altar of an ancient cult, the sect of the Veiled Moon. Its members did not worship the gods. They prostrated themselves before the wildest and most bloodthirsty nature. We believed that by offering human blood to the land, they would awaken the guardian, the protector of the veil between worlds. This guardian was not a spirit. It was flesh, teeth, claws. It was the werewolf. But what few knew is that the monster was not the end, but the beginning. A living portal, a bestial avatar that prevents it from waking up. The true horror was sealed beneath the forest, and the sect, even after centuries, never left. During the 16th and 17th centuries, the Vasilescus were the sect's main financiers. The barons participated in secret rituals in the catacombs beneath Bran Castle. It was there that, covered in black cloaks and horned masks, they offered servants and peasants to the wolfish Sum. Each sacrifice renewed the pact, sealing the monstrous for another 50-year cycle. But in 1799, something went wrong. One of the rituals was interrupted by a pregnant servant who ran away, taking with her a sacred medallion of the sect. She was killed, but her son survived and was raised in secret. Emil Petrescu, the same one who, decades later, tried to hunt the thing his blood helped keep alive. Ironic, tragic, inevitable. When Emil entered the forest, he was not just hunting a beast, he was being drawn. The blood of the sect ran through his veins, and the entity was significant. It was a summons. He was to be the new bearer of the curse, the new vessel of the bestial spirit. But Emil resisted. The fight with the werewolf was not just physical, it was spiritual. And for a brief moment, he won. He wounded the monster. He prevented complete possession. but it came at a high cost. He was not killed. He was absorbed. He became part of the forest. And ever since, the sect has had to look for other heirs. In modern times, the sect of the Veiled Moon has transformed itself. It hides among intellectuals, politicians, academics. It wears suits. It publishes books on Romanian folklore while holding secret meetings in the basements of the National Library. It was one of them who guided Irina into the forest. A teacher who knew exactly where she should camp. The diary she left behind was partially forged, written in sect codes, symbols I was only beginning to understand. What she saw was part of the ritual, an offering. The group of students were given as sacrifices to renew the pact, but something had slipped out of control. A creature had evolved. It had become more than a guardian. Now it wanted freedom. Every new moon, the Seta sends a new group of researchers, legend hunters, or urban explorers to maintain the blood cycle. And when they fail, the entity begins to wander beyond the forest. That's what happened in 2021 with the missing YouTubers. The group wasn't an unexpected invasion. They were led there by a fake marketing campaign created by members of the Seta infiltrated in the digital world. And the leaked video? It wasn't a mistake. It was a warning, a symbolic message to the other members of the occult society. He agrees. Prepare yourselves. Today, Irina lives in seclusion in an abandoned village on the outskirts of Bistrița. Some claim that she leads the occult arm of the Seta. Others say that she went mad and tried to prevent the entity's return. But one thing is certain. The claw marks on the doors of neighboring houses continue to appear. Residents report voices whispering in dead languages during the early hours of the morning. And in the center of the forest, a clearing has blossomed again, right where Emil disappeared, with stones arranged in a circle and black candles burning alone. The sect of the Veiled Moon prepares the final ritual. The seal is weakening. The entity is impatient, and the werewolf is no longer the only one. Now there are 3, maybe more. Creatures molded from human remains, driven by a primal desire for freedom. Blood is no longer enough. They want the world. And as the veil between the worlds tears, Transylvania becomes the epicenter of the apocalypse. Because when horror is cultivated for centuries, it ceases to be legend. It becomes destiny. And destiny, in this case, has teeth.